Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday edition, June 15th, 2023. We are trying to master the Encompass platform together. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're going to go ahead and get some people into the Zoom meeting. If you are watching on live streaming, thank you very much. If you're watching on replay, thank you very much. You can always catch these replays on the Mastering Encompass community over at mortgage.community, as well as over on our YouTube channel if you're a YouTube kind of person. Go ahead and admit some other folks. Today's topics that we're going through is all about the e-folder. I want to talk about documents, specifically the file manager and the document manager, and also talk about conditions. It's coming up quite a bit in underwriting, where we've got some folks that either were trained or untrained, but they're doing their best to leverage the Encompass platform. So for those that are just coming along, thank you very much for joining. I've got the chat up here over, if I can make this look better. Got the chat up over here on my one screen, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump into the topics that we prepared. But first, it's always about the community. So the first thing I want to ask is, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to ask anything that's going on in your day or in your week as it relates to 23.2 or anything else? I will take that as a polite pause. No. So we will keep on going forward here. And if you do have any questions, feel free to use the chat if you want, or feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. So when I look at the e-folder problems that we see day in, day out from not only the sales team, processing team, a lot of this usually comes up in either underwriting in a traditional retail environment, or if you're in a QC environment, or if you're in a setup team or post-closing. These are enormously intensive document departments. So one of the things that I like to make sure of is that when you come into the e-folder, the first thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that this view that we're looking at on screen, this view that we see here is specific to me, meaning that up here, documents viewer, it's not like the pipeline view. So as an administrator, one of the things that we would love to see ICE develop at some point is the ability to create document views and put them out to different personas. So it gets a little bit tough if you're working with teams and you've got some folks that know enough to come in here and you can customize columns, and you can basically bring anything that you see on here up onto your column. And so why do some people use these column viewers versus others? Sometimes folks don't even know that you can. So what I just did there is maybe brand new to you, that you didn't even know you could do this. Other folks will come in and they'll try and create multiple views. So if you wanted to come in and you wanted to replicate your standard view, you could do that, call it something else. And when you do that, you have this in your dropdown. So I'm not going to say the changes I just made there, but now we come over into main. And now let's say I wanted to have, again, something that's fairly common, which is either accessed on, or where's another one that comes in, ready for underwrite. Some companies will use ready for underwriting or ready for shipping in their document patterns. And they do this for document protection reasons, as well as for communicating between underwriting teams, things like that. And so when you do that and you click save, it'll again, you can set yours default or just update your current view. And what's really interesting here is, now that we've got this set and somebody else comes up and they're like, oh, it's totally awesome, I'd love to get that too, they basically have to recreate that for themselves. So it's a bit of a drag, but it is the way Encompass is. So I do like to talk about that. Two other things that fairly get misunderstood is the document groups and document stacking orders. So if you've never used these, don't feel like you've been missing out. Most companies don't use document groups. Some companies try to leverage document stacking orders only to find that it's really good for like sending, let's say you're either you're sending a group of documents to a third party. Maybe it's a QC company, or maybe it's an underwriter, or maybe it's an auditor, things like that. And administratively, these things get created by your Encompass admin. If you're the Encompass admin, of course, you'll go into the e-folder document stacking templates or e-folder document groups. And what's important to understand is how you use each of these effectively in your position. So if you're in a position and you want to focus just on credit, your Encompass admin would have defined credit. And what hopefully you noticed is we went from 26 documents all the way down to 1. And that's because administratively, this document called bankruptcy papers was defined to be included in the group. And what's good, bad about document groups is you only see what's in the group. So that's good if you want to ultra focus or hyper focus on those documents. And it can be bad if you come into this and you don't want to miss something else, the other 25 documents that are in here. So then we get into stacks. Now, document stacking orders can function in two ways. They can function as organizers. So if I wanted to take, I know it's very subtle, but I want you to understand that when I go from none, the AVM, which is down here, moves up to the top. And you might say, well, Larry, that's just alpha order, to which I would say, no, because you've got A, B, A. So it's not alpha order. And you've got numbers down here. It's also important to note that your ability to alpha order or any type of organization by clicking on the column header is completely removed when using a stacking order. So some users find that very frustrating because they want to be able to sort these things as they go. So what you can only do when you're not using a document stacking order or a document group. Here's how when I configure these things, here's my magic wand move kind of a thing. Only because I'm really old and I've been in lending since '93, back when we worked with paper files and we had a very specific stacking order. And if you didn't put your file in that order for your underwriter, chances are you're not going to have a happy underwriter, which is usually not a good thing. So when I go and create a stacking template for like underwriting, we'll typically do, your application and then your credit and then your income and then your assets and then your property and then your whatever else you have in there. And when I create that stack, I want it to also act as an untouched or an ungrouped e-folder. The reason why it goes A, B, A, and then it starts with the 2 here is because it's really hard to see it, but this is the end. This is my stack, and everything else after that is outside of the stack. I could make a document stacking template work like a group, so it only shows me these things. Or I can do a checkbox in administratively, and you can talk to your Encompass admin also. But if you have a stacking order that hides the rest of your e-folder, it's a little tiny checkbox in the setting that basically gets your document stacking order to behave like a group. So for those admins, if you want to come check it out, I'll show you where that is. But this is one of those things where you go into that new order over here, I click the page plus right here, this guy, display only the documents included. Why would you do that? Again, the reason is because if I'm a processor and we have at the company, we have a specific workflow that puts the documents in a very specific order, and that's the only thing I want that person to be able to see to keep their focus. That's why you would click that button. Otherwise, you don't, because you want it to show everything in the e-folder the way you do. So if you get your view set up, I'm going to change this back to main. I'm going to go ahead and just customize the columns for a second. and I'm going to add in, these other things that I want in there, and I want to change this to a stack. I can save this view exactly as I have it, so that every time I come into this view, I have my columns the way I want them, and I have my stacking order the way that I want them. And again, as an underwriter, that can be a really powerful thing, because you get your file in the way that you want to see it, in the way that you can deal with it. And then at the end, you can see all the other stuff in the E folder that you want to. So before I go on anymore, I'm sorry, Mike, I just noticed you're up there in waiting room. Thanks for being patient. Before I go on, is there any questions at all about the Documents tab, how it works, document groups, stacking orders? Again, you can chat, you can take yourself off mute. Give it a 1, 2, 3, no? Okay, fair enough. If any of this stuff is like old hat, I totally get it, but I cannot stress to you enough, people just not understanding some of the stuff you can do with the Documents tab natively. So let's talk about File Manager next. File Manager is one of the OG features. And what you're seeing on my screen is the new doc viewer, air quotes. If your icons that are converted over here look like paper clips, you don't have document conversion turned on at all, I'd love to hear from you, because I'd love to know why you're not converting your documents on import. If you get your documents via a third-party API or a third-party software, your documents may not be converted until you click on them. That's different. Also, if your documents on conversion look like the sun and a hill, that means you're using the original doc viewer, which a lot of folks are still on. ICE's thing here is we'd love to get everybody onto the server-side doc conversion, which is what the page in the world thing is. It's again the new doc viewer. There are very few issues I've heard of recently that still have, maybe some issues with it, but ultimately I've seen new doc viewer in enough environments to know that all the bugs that we knew about before now have all been solved for. So if you are holding back on moving over to new doc viewer, again, make sure your custom print forms print properly, but it takes the entire load of conversion away from the local machine and puts it out there. This guy right here, this working with a HELOC book, is 152 pages. Took about 3 seconds to view. If you're in any type of correspondent or a loan setup team or something like that, and you get these PDFs in with hundreds of pages, I know as well as you, using the older doc viewer, it could take like 2 or 3 minutes where you're just staring at the screen. And that's not a valuable use of your time. This lets you get through it quickly. And so if you haven't seen the new doc viewer, again, functionality is fairly even or at parity with the original doc viewer, with a little bit more extra. You can come over here and you can drag individual thumbnails, or you can control choose, and you can drag them over into your document. But it'll rename it. It'll pull it out of here. If you want to,
hey Larry, can you back up for a second?
Yeah, Brian.
I'm in my Encompass. How do I get to File Manager?
Sorry, bud. Go to.
Oh, I see the button now. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, thanks, Brian. So in any event, what I was going to show you was, if you wanted to kind of do this in mass, right? You can't drag these thumbnails out wide in this viewer. So what you do is you click Edit File. And now you can stretch this sucker out as far as you want. Now you're not gonna be able to see this, but I'm dragging it over all 108 inches of my monitors. And I can go down pretty small. And so you might think like, well, who the heck can actually do this work? I've seen folks do this work at this size thumbnail where they know exactly what these are and they can drag them and drop them into their documents. I personally am not very good at that. But that's the idea, is you can make this go out. We can make this go out. Sure thing, Sharon. We can make this go out to as small or large as you want. And if I wanted to select this entire section, again, I can drag it over to there, rename it, it'll extract it, and done. Now, Just like anything else, view original, if you've got your admin tools set up, which is what I always suggest, to make sure that when you click the view original, it displays the original PDF in its original format. Just click it, it'll pop it open, it'll throw, in my case, I use Adobe, and it pulls all 156 pages back. You should be experiencing the same thing, even though your file here shows 122. And you got your download, you got your annotations. If you've never used these, check them out because they're very, very cool. Public, internal, private are means of viewing, and those are settings that are able to be configured at the persona level. She's all my cats in the background. Sorry for the distraction. And that's really it. I mean, there's lots of other, there's lots of other features in here, and different people use these different ways. Just like we saw in the E folder, you can use your document stacking order. So if I wanted to pull that back in to the document stacking order I'm used to, there you go. Notice there's no grouping. That's done on purpose because you want to be able to see as many documents as you want. The grouping is more of working with existing documents. So any questions on the file manager? I wanted to bring this up. I know this is like really old hat, but it's important because some people don't have any experience with new doc viewer.
How about training? Is that still a thing?
No.
I was hoping it got better.
If you want honestly, if you want OCR tech, AIQ is where ICE been putting all their money. And AIQ is solid. I've seen it in action, and it actually is the first time I've not like gagged on OCR tech. I've had a horrible experience with a platform I will not name that was not AIQ, and it completely undermined my faith of anything OCR related. But AIQ actually does really well. I watched it on PHH. It was a friggin' game changer. And so anyway, good for that, Brian. Good for that. So let's go on to Document Manager. And if I don't know if everybody knows how to use the hands thing on Zoom, but hands, if you show me hands or give me claps or whatever, if you actually know your team uses Document Manager. I'll be shocked if anybody says yes. Mike, what? Thanks, Amy. So Amy sent me a direct message that they use AIQ on the correspondence side, and yeah, it's a game changer. So Document Manager is the most under-leveraged part of the E folder that I typically find, mostly because people, A, don't realize what it does, or B, they come to it in the wrong time. So you'll notice that, first of all, in my Encompass, I'm using the standard conditions. But this will also work with enhanced conditions if you're using those. I'm just going to bring in a bunch of conditions in here just so I can show you what it looks like. And when I have conditions in here, especially if they're linked to documents like these two things are, when I come over to the Documents tab and I click Document Manager, excuse me. So what you're doing is you're acting in the capacity of being able to not only look at your documents, right? So here's the anti-steering disclosure. So I can see documents detail, I can see the thumbnails, I can see any comments that are in here. So for those companies that are leveraging document comments, I can quickly go from document to document to see comments. I can quickly go from document to document to see statuses or even thumbnails. What's really helpful here is if I have a condition tied into a document, I can see the document and I can see the condition details all at the same time. So whether you're in processing or whether you're in underwriting, or even if you're in some other position and role in the company, Document Manager allows you to get everything in front of you in a, I'm going to use stack, not to be confused with stacking template, but in a stack. So I can rip through my stacking template here, and I can look at if any of these are tied into a condition, right? Up here, I don't see the conditions. If I want to see the condition, I come down in here and click over into the condition details for bank statement. So I can move back and forth. One of the things that you can't do in Document Manager is do things like like set current version as an example, right? So if I wanted to go into the documents, these documents are tied in. Notice setting current version is not part of it. So what I typically find best value for here is typically underwriting. Sometimes processing likes to live in documents because they want to go into that bank statement and they want to be able to, I'll go into the other one because I had two. They want to be able to, I'll go ahead and go into file manager then, and I'm going to move both of those. Give me your file. There you go. There you go. They'll go into the bank statement and they want to set one of these as current version out. So that way the underwriter only sees this. So that way when the underwriter does go into document manager and they do go into bank statements, again, they will only see the bank statement that's tied into the condition. So this is the important part. What I would encourage you to explore is the document manager in your workflow. It's new to many. But when, just like other things we do, like every time in Encompass, you're like, oh, I wish I had a summary screen that showed me all the important things in one place. And when it comes to eFolder, I find a lot of people just have no idea how to leverage this. Amy put a note in. I still can't tell if this is directly to me or not, Amy, so I apologize. But where, Amy had a manager that loved it, but couldn't get buy-in from the rest. And it's because it's different. And this is where with mortgage workflow partners, we get involved with engagements like with the underwriting team, especially to get them to leverage best practice workflows inside of Encompass. Just like we do with sales teams and processing teams and everybody else, to departmentalize the experience of Encompass so that you're leveraging everything in the best way possible. Because it's not like this is unique to you. Like this is the same thing everybody can use. But I'm telling you hands down, I think I shared this with somebody before, I've seen companies go in and they'll literally grab all of this and they'll right mouse click, save documents as, and they'll put this into a PDF to put it into Adobe to put it off to the other screen because, oh, I have it only set up for direct. Oh, that sucks. I have to fix that next time, Amy. Sorry about that. Thanks for the heads up. You should be able to chat with everybody. But where they'll print this out and they'll open it up because what they think they have to do is go into each document to review it. They're doing this and they're like, dude, that sucks. Like, why don't I just put it all together? To which I say, why aren't you using Document Manager to look at each of these documents this way? And if you don't like Document Manager, for God's sake, at least use File Manager to be able to go through each document that has an attachment. And again, you can build a stack. So, if you have the stack and you have what's supposed to be looked at, you can just click through. But please don't let your team pull anything out of Encompass in the eFolder because they think they have to open up each document to manage it. That's just not the case. So I'm always learning. I'll fix the chat for next time. Again, we do these calls every Tuesday and Thursday because I like to share, two things because it's easy. And then we meet as, if you're an administrator and you want to really get into the nitty gritty of stuff, we meet every second Wednesday of the month, all on the same link. Always go to masteringencompass.com. You can get the link for the Zoom. And if you're watching this on live stream, again, thank you, and replays and all that stuff. For the group that's here, though, you guys spent your time. I want to make sure it's worth it. Does anybody have any questions about this or anything else now that you've had some time to warm up? Besides, why can't I figure out how to work Zoom chat?
Hey, Larry, that document manager, is that only on the new eFolder viewer or the only classic?
Nope, it's there. It's been there since 2000 something.
Okay.
Yeah. And the down here part, Craig, it might look different. I'd have to go into a different environment that doesn't have new doc viewer. This might, I'm expecting this portion down here to look different, but the functionality will be the same.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You got it. Great question. Anybody else? So last thing I'll leave you with is, gang, I am investing a ton of time and money into getting the community into being something that's of value to you. I need your feedback. I cannot live in a cave thinking that I know best for everyone else. That's ridiculous. So any feedback, any suggestions, please make them. I'm working with a team to, again, bring in and cultivate the platform to be something valuable. Kind of what we're figuring out here is there's going to be like a place for everybody to go at the community level, and then go deeper into positional levels, and then ultimately into like a premium spot where I can actually share stuff and we can all collaborate, especially as we work towards Encompass on the web. We're going to all want to share stuff like JavaScript snips, or maybe even special input form code, things like that. So I really want to hear back from everybody, both here and on replays in the community. Like, what can I do to make the community more collaborative? I noticed last night that I freaking had members turned off, so you couldn't even see each other in the community. That sucked, and I apologize for that. That got fixed overnight. So my apologies for that. You can go in there, you can check out other members, and you should be able to absolutely chat with each other there as well as in the conversation setting. So anything else I can ever do to help bring value to your day, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Amy. You're welcome, Sharon. Amy sent me a
Thank
note.
you.
You're welcome, Rachel. Hey, so if that's it, I've got nothing else to say. You guys got nothing else to say? Anybody play Wordle yet today? Don't spoil it.
Not yet.
Has anybody, am I the only one that's gotten Wordle on the first try for real? Like, I accidentally got it once and my wife legit thought I was cheating, and she still thinks I'm
I
cheating.
don't even play it.
Oh my God.
Me
Come on.
either.
Celebrate for a while, Larry, on that, because I think 2 I've gotten, but not 1.
Yeah, no, I think we've gotten 2 a couple times, but yeah, one time she's like, dude, you cheat. I'm like,
You looked it on the web.
I agree with your wife. You're a cheater.
Amy.
I've gotten it in 2. No, I do know somebody else who got it in 1, and because it happened to be that they're words that they start with every single day.
see, play the same numbers in lottery. Eventually you'll win.
Sooner or later.
Maybe. All right, gang. Well, I appreciate you coming today, and I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. And if you have any ideas, I know next week we're going to talk about Consumer Connect using widgets. That was something that was brought up as a request from Brian. I forget who did it, but somebody did it.
Yep. Yeah. I asked last Tuesday, last meeting.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll talk about that.
Fun.
Fun stuff. Everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend.
See ya.
Perfect.
Bye.
Thanks,
See ya.
Larry. Great stuff.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.